In the sun-baked plains of New Mexico Territory, where the horizon stretched like an endless promise broken by jagged mesas, lived a man named Elias Thorne. For nigh on 15 years, Elias had called the Double Bar Ranch his solitary domain. It wasn't much, a weathered cabin of adobe and timber, a corral for his half-dozen horses, a barn sagging under the weight of time, and acres of scrubland that barely sustained a herd of longhorns. The nearest town, Silver Gulch, was a full day's ride away, and Elias preferred it that way. Folks there whispered about him, the recluse who once rode with the Texas Rangers, the man who'd lost his wife and son to a Comanche raid back in '62. Grief had carved deep lines into his face, turning his once handsome features into a map of sorrow. His hair, streaked with gray, hung long under a battered Stetson, and his eyes, sharp as a hawk's, scanned the land with perpetual wariness. Elias's days blurred into one another like the dust devils that danced across his fields. He'd rise before dawn, mend fences, tend to the cattle, and hunt jackrabbits for supper. Evenings found him by the hearth, nursing a tin cup of black coffee, staring into flames that flickered like forgotten memories. He spoke to no one but his horse, a sturdy bay named Rusty, and the ghosts that haunted his dreams. Loneliness was his companion, a bitter but familiar one. He'd sworn off people after burying Mary and little Jacob under the lone cottonwood tree behind the cabin. "Ain't no good comes from trustin' folks," he'd mutter to himself. And so, the world left him be, until that fateful autumn day in 1877. The sun hung low, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, when Elias spotted them on the ridge. 10 riders, silhouetted against the dying light, moving slow and deliberate. Apaches, by the look of their buckskin leggings and feathered lances. His hand instinctively went to the Winchester leaning against the porch rail. Apaches weren't uncommon in these parts. The Chiricahua bands roamed the borderlands, fierce and proud, but they rarely approached a white man's ranch without cause. Raiding parties struck fast and vanished like smoke, but these riders weren't charging. They rode single file, horses laden with bundles, and as they drew nearer, Elias saw no war paint, no drawn bows. Leading them was a tall warrior with a scarred face, his black hair tied back with a red cloth. Elias chambered around, heart pounding like a war drum. "State your business," he bellowed, voice echoing across the empty land. The leader raised a hand in peace, halting his group a stone's throw from the cabin. "We seek no fight, White Eyes," he called in broken English. "I am Naiche, son of Cochise. We ask shelter for one night. Storm comes from the mountains. Our women and children tire." Elias squinted. Behind Naiche, he saw them now, 2 women cradling infants, 3 young boys no older than 10, and the rest warriors, but weary ones. Their ponies were foam-flecked, eyes wild from hard riding. A glance north confirmed it. Dark clouds boiled over the Sangre de Cristo peaks, thunder rumbling like distant cannon fire. A norther was barreling down, the kind that could freeze a man solid or drown him in flash floods. "Why my ranch?" Elias growled, rifle steady. "Ain't no love lost, 'tween your kind and mine." Naiche dismounted, hands open. "We flee the bluecoats. They chase us from the reservation. No food, no home. Your land is empty. We pay with hides, or hunt for you." Elias chewed on that. The army had been rounding up Apaches for years, herding them onto barren reserves like San Carlos. Renegades like Geronimo stirred trouble, but these looked more like refugees than raiders. Still, 10 Apaches on his land? One wrong move, and he'd be scalped in his sleep. But the code of the frontier nagged at him, hospitality to strangers, even enemies, in dire need. Mary's voice echoed in his mind, "Kindness costs nothing, Elias." Damn her memory. "All right," he said finally, lowering the Winchester a fraction. "Corral your horses in the barn. Sleep there. No fires inside, and you leave at first light. Any trouble, and I'll put lead in every last one of ya." Naiche nodded solemnly. "You have our word, rancher." As the Apaches settled in, Elias watched from the porch, unease gnawing at his gut. The women unpacked meager supplies, dried jerky, cornmeal, while the children stared wide-eyed at the cabin. One warrior, a burly man with a missing ear, eyed Elias's cattle hungrily, but Naiche barked an order in Apache, and they kept to themselves. The storm hit at midnight, wind howling like banshees, rain lashing the roof. Elias barred the door, pistol under his pillow, but sleep evaded him. What if this was a trick? What secrets did they hide? Dawn broke clear and cold, steam rising from the sodden earth. Elias expected them gone, but Naiche approached as he fetched water from the well. "Rancher, our ponies lame from the run. Need one more day. We fix your fence in trade." Elias cursed under his breath. The barn door hung crooked, and his eastern fence was down from the gale. "Fine," he grumbled. "But you eat your own grub." That day marked the uneasy alliance. The Apaches mended the fence with wire and posts Elias provided, their hands deft and strong. The children chased chickens, laughter piercing the silence that had cloaked the ranch for years. One woman, slender with eyes like polished obsidian, offered Elias a bowl of stew. "For strength," she said softly. He tasted it, venison spiced with herbs he'd never known, and it warmed him more than any meal in ages. As days stretched into a week, excuses piled up, a sick child, a lame horse, scouting for pursuers. Elias griped, but secretly, the company stirred something in him. Naiche shared stories by the evening fire, tales of the great chief Cochise, of battles won and lost. Elias reciprocated with yarns from his ranger days, chasing outlaws through the Llano Estacado. The warrior with the missing ear, called Taza, taught Elias Apache tracking signs, while Elias showed them how to brand cattle without spooking the herd. But tension simmered. Elias caught whispers in Apache tongue, furtive glances toward the south. One night, he overheard Naiche arguing with a young warrior named Zhu. "The map is safe," Naiche hissed. "The White Eyes must not know." "Map?" Elias's suspicions flared. Were they hiding treasure? Stolen goods from a raid? His answer came on the 8th day. Riders crested the hill, 5 men, dusters flapping, badges glinting. U.S. Marshals, led by a grizzled lawman named Harlan Crow, known for hunting Apache renegades with ruthless zeal. "Thorne!" Crow shouted, reining in. "Word in town says you got Injuns holed up here. Hand 'em over, they're wanted for rustlin' army horses." Elias stepped out, rifle in hand. "Ain't no rustlers. Just folks passin' through." Crow's eyes narrowed. "You gone soft, old man?" "These savages killed settlers up near Mescalero. There's a bounty, $50 a head." The Apaches emerged from the barn, weapons ready but not raised. Naiche stood firm. "We took no horses. Bluecoats lie." Crow drew his Colt. "Don't matter. Orders are to bring them in, dead or alive." Elias's mind raced. Betray them, and he'd have blood money but a heavier conscience. Side with them, and he'd be an outlaw himself. But in Naiche's eyes, he saw echoes of his own loss. "Family hunted, home destroyed. Get off my land, Crow," Elias said, cocking the Winchester. "Or we'll settle this the hard way." The standoff crackled like dry lightning. Crow's men shifted, hands hovering over holsters. Then, a shot rang out, not from the marshals, but from the barn. Zhu had fired a warning into the air. Chaos erupted. Bullets whizzed as Elias dove behind a water trough, returning fire. Naiche's warriors unleashed arrows and rifle shots, felling one marshal's horse. Crow cursed, wheeling his mount. "This ain't over, Thorne. You'll hang for this." The marshals retreated in a hail of lead, 2 wounded, dragging their dead comrade. Elias's shoulder burned from a graze, but the Apaches were unscathed. Naiche clasped his arm. "You fought for us, brother." "Why?" Elias spat blood. "Reckon I ain't as alone as I thought." That night, around the fire, Naiche revealed the truth. "We carry a secret from our ancestors. A map to a hidden canyon, rich with gold veins. The Spanish found it centuries ago, but our people guarded it. Bluecoats want it for their wars. We flee to Mexico, to keep it from them." Elias's eyes widened. "Gold? Enough to buy a new life, or doom them all. Why tell me now? You earned trust. But danger follows. More will come." Indeed, they did. Word spread like wildfire. Elias Thorne, the Apache sympathizer. Bounty hunters slithered in, drawn by Crow's inflated rewards. One moonless night, 3 sneaked onto the ranch, torches ready to burn the barn. Elias and the Apaches ambushed them in the corral, a furious melee of knives and gunfire. Taza took a blade to the thigh, but they prevailed, burying the intruders under the cottonwood beside Mary and Jacob. As weeks turned to months, the ranch transformed. The Apaches helped expand the herd, teaching Elias irrigation tricks from desert lore. The children called him Uncle Eli, their games filling the air with joy. The woman who'd given him stew, named Lila, tended his wounds with gentle hands. Sparks kindled between them, stolen glances, shared silences. For the first time since his loss, Elias felt alive, the ranch pulsing with life. But paradise cracked. Scouts reported an army detachment marching from Fort Sumner, 50 soldiers, led by Captain Reyes, a veteran of the Indian Wars. They knew about the map, tortured from a captured Apache scout. "They'll be here in 3 days," Naiche said grimly. "We must run." Elias shook his head. "This is my home. I ain't runnin'. We'll fortify." The Apaches nodded, loyalty forged in blood. They dug trenches, stockpiled ammunition from Elias's hidden cache, a remnant from his ranger days. The children and women were sent to a hidden arroyo, while the warriors prepared for siege. The army arrived at dawn, bugles blaring, sabers drawn. Captain Reyes, a mustachioed officer with cold eyes, parleyed from afar. "Surrender the Apaches and the map, Thorne, or we'll raise this place." Elias, atop the cabin roof with his Sharps rifle, shouted back. "Come and take it." The battle exploded. Soldiers charged on horseback, met by withering fire from the trenches. Elias picked off officers, his aim deadly. Naiche's arrows found throats, Jua's rifle barked relentlessly. Cannon fire from a field piece shattered the barn, flames licking the sky. Elias leaped down, rallying the defenders. "Hold the line." Amid the smoke, betrayal struck. Taza, the one-eared warrior, slipped away during the chaos. Elias spotted him riding toward the soldiers, waving a white cloth. "Traitor," he roared, but too late. Taza had sold them out, for amnesty, perhaps, or gold. The tide turned. Soldiers breached the fence, bayonets gleaming. Hand-to-hand combat ensued. Elias clubbed a trooper with his rifle, but Naiche cleaved another's skull with a tomahawk. But numbers overwhelmed. Ju fell, chest riddled with bullets. Naiche took a round to the leg, collapsing beside Elias. As defeat loomed, Lila emerged from hiding, the map clutched in her hand. "Burn it!" Elias yelled, but she shook her head, tossing it into the wind. It fluttered toward Reyes, who snatched it triumphantly. "No!" Naiche gasped. Lila smiled sadly. "It is false. The real one is in my heart. We live to fight another day." In the confusion, the Apaches mounted a desperate breakout. Elias covered their retreat, emptying his revolver into advancing soldiers. Rusty charged through the melee, Elias scooping up Naiche onto the saddle. They galloped south, bullets whizzing past, the ranch ablaze behind them. Miles away, in a hidden canyon, they regrouped. The children wept, but hope flickered. The map Lila carried in memory led to the true gold. A vein sparkling in the rock face. Enough to fund their escape to Mexico, to buy freedom. Elias, bandaged and weary, looked at his new family. "Reckon I ain't alone no more." Naiche gripped his shoulder. "Brother, the trail is long, but we ride together." As they vanished into the borderlands, legends grew, of the rancher who defied the army, of Apaches who found an unlikely ally. The Double Bar Ranch lay in ruins, but Elias Thorne's heart was whole again, forged in fire and friendship.